Story appears ordinary till you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is the story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides and political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
Hello and welcome to CoreTV Primetime News. I am Gift or Gete. In our major story, All Progressives Congress accuses People's Democratic Party governorship candidate Iyinla Omishere of employing services of a masked suspected terrorist in his campaign trail with the intention of intimidating the electorate in Osun State. Also in this program, the acting chief judge of Adamawa State, Ambrose Mamadi, approves the appointment of a 7-man panel to investigate allegations of gross financial misconduct leveled against Governor Murtala Nyako and his deputy Bala Ngilari. United States say Nigeria is the largest recipient of its president's emergency plan for AIDS relief in the world. And outside Nigeria, Taliban militants set fire to dozens of fuel tanks they claim were supplying foreign troops of Afghanistan in an attack on the outskirts of Kabul. Good to have you join us again. Now details of the news headlines and other stories. The Osun State chapter of the All Progressives Congress has accused the People's Democratic Party governorship candidate Iyinla Omishere of employing services of a masked suspected terrorist in his campaign trail with the intention of intimidating the electorate. The APC says Omishere was spotted during his campaign trail closely guarded by the armed suspected terrorist. The party noted that while President Goodluck Jonathan was fighting terrorists in the north with Nigeria's soldiers, his party man was hiding behind security cover to intimidate the electorate. The APC, in a statement, called for a full-scale investigation by the security agencies into Omishere's use of masked armed guards. The party also says it heard on good authority that the PDP had brought in bales of fake police uniforms with substantial arms into the state with the intention of replicating the scenario of Ekiti State. The APC ordered that Nigeria and the democratic process are in terrible times as the August 9 election approaches. According to the APC, the theme of Omishere's campaign so far has been that arrangement has already been made to remove Aregbesola from office, no matter what he is doing. The last may not have been heard of the twists and turns aftermath of the recently concluded Ekiti governorship election. A Lagos-based lawyer, Bosun Oshiforowa, in an interview with CoreTV News, described turnaround in the reaction of the APC to the outcome of the election after Governor Kayode Fayemi considered defeat as baseless, especially as it concerns the tribunal.
Sincerely, I have a lot of regard for the APC, but what they're trying to bring up to the election petition tribunal, well, I don't want to say much, but I think they can look for something better than some of these things. For the mental right of supporters were breached, the court is there. It's not the tribunal that is going to look into your right being breached. You are a citizen of Nigeria. You have a right to go to court once your right has been infringed upon. So those kind of things don't bother on election. I said, well, fine, maybe it was prelude to the election, but I don't think that will be a ground for going to the tribunal.
He reminded the nation's leading opposition party and others against the federal government over the heavily militarized atmosphere of the state. before and during the election, that the development could be justified by antecedents and current insecurity around the country.
If the incumbent had won, I don't think we will be saying all this. So it's natural for politicians to cry wolf where there's none. All right, so I don't see any form of intimidation. All they've said is that some of our people were not allowed in, their own people were on ground. Did that affect the result? How can you prove it? Until they come up with claims that, okay, fine, the military presence did not allow our people to come out. If maybe we had in a local government, you had PDP 10,000, APC 0, then you know that something happened, but when you have 10,000, then 9,500 of your people came out, and you say military presence, were they coming out to fight the military or what? I mean, no, we could come up with better things.
We'll hook up with Nifemi Oguntoye on our next edition of the Judiciary Today for details of the interview. Following directives of the Adamawa State House of Assembly, the acting chief of the state, Ambrose Mamadi, has approved the appointment of a 7-man panel to investigate allegations of gross financial misconduct leveled against Governor Murtala Nyako and his deputy, Balangilari. The panel has been given 7 days from the day of swearing in to investigate the allegations of financial gross misconduct against the governor and his deputy. Bubakar Gama will be leading as the committee chairman, while Laraba Hassan, Jida Kito and Joshua Abu will serve as members. Others include Binanu Eshton, Sad Lawan and Eshton Kapsiso. The swearing-in date will be communicated later. If found guilty of the 20-point allegations of financial fraud and mismanagement, the lawmakers will proceed with the impeachment move on the governor and his deputy. Delegates at the National Conference have made a recommendation for an additional 18 states to be created. If that is done, Nigeria would end up having 54 states. But not many people in Abuja are comfortable with the position of the National Conference, as Pius Samuel reports.
The clamor for the creation of more states is not new in Nigeria, but the National Assembly had over the years been reluctant to push it through. And now that the National Conference has recommended it, the move is generating mixed reactions in the polity. Some Nigerians say security should be taken care of first before state creation, while others are of the opinion that it will bring democracy and development closer to the people.
It is a welcome development to this country. When I read it this morning, my thoughts go to the splitting of this country, because if definitely we are going to have 18 countries, the back end of it shows that maybe the country may be divided. That's my opinion. So I think, to me, I'm not in support of 18. There should be additional, not up to 18. If they can zone it based on the geopolitical zone, maybe 2 to 1 in each state is a welcome development. But up to 18, my thought towards it is after that, it may lead to a division of this country.
I don't think creating of state, of additional states is important as having peace in this country. What I want is peace, and let the people, our administrators, the people in government, let them do the right thing. If you give me what is due to me, I may not need to agitate for any extra states.
My own fear is some states might not have the revenue generation, and they will fall back again to the federal government revenue. That is only my fear. I'm in support of giving Southeast more one state so that the whole geopolitical zones will be equal.
This woman is quite emphatic in her opposition to additional states. She doesn't think that's what Nigeria needs now.
We read where a governor's wife is now giving farmers, market women, designer perfume. When they are hungry, there are issues we should look at before we start agitating, because you agitate for more states, you agitate for more local government, you agitate for more wards, and those on ground are yet to be developed.
But in spite of the different shades of opinion, the consensus among Nigerians is that whatever will ensure peace and development in the country is desirable. Pius Samuel, CoreTV News, Abuja.
More reactions have been trailing the proposed creation of 18 states endorsed by the National Conference in Abuja. A legal practitioner, Lekon Alabi, condemned the action by the National Conference, saying they do not have the power to create states.
The power to create state squarely lies in the National Assembly. I believe that the creation of state is not our need now. Our need is how to make the state that you have already had to be viable, so that the state will not go to Abuja every month at the end of the month to collect their peanut to run the state. And I believe that the purpose of the creation of state is to serve as a conduit pipe for the satellite of the custodian of power to manipulate the resources of the state.
Achike Chude, a public affairs analyst, also believes that the creation of states is not what
the
Nigeria
National
needs
Assembly
now.
is not in sync with reality, and they are not in sync with the mood of the nation, and they are also not in sync with what would appear to be the groundswell of opinion in the country. So I do not think it's a very good position taken by the National Conference. It just clearly tells you that some of these people are not in sync with the rest of the country, and like I said, the mood of the nation.
Nigeria is United States' largest recipient of AIDS relief on AIDS and HIV in the world. We'll bring you details after the break. Stay with us.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ghana. Please remain seated and ensure your seatbelts are fastened. You can now turn on your MTN mobile phone data to enjoy a browsing rate of 5 kobo per kilobyte with MTN One World. Thank you.
Absolutely. Browse like home with MTN One World. Surfing the web from any MTN operating country costs the same like home. Enjoy affordable rates when you call and send text messages. Terms and conditions apply.
MTN, everywhere you go.
This one wash challenge, you test Ariel to see if it removes stains in one wash. Let the challenge begin. First, chocolate and juice. We will wash shirts with Ariel. Look, Ariel has cleaned in just one wash. So which detergent removes stains in one wash? Ariel, P&G Everyday Quality Brand.
CoreTV News now provide a platform for live coverage of political rallies and electioneering campaign from anywhere in Nigeria. Political news stories, political editorial reviews, political discussions, personality profile, People's Parliament from the National, State and Local Government Assembly. Contact us now on 0803-471-8550 or 0803-724-9733. 01453-3407.
Our 24-hour news station. You can now watch CoreTV News live from anywhere in the world on our website www.coretvnews.com. Click on Live TV on our website and watch us live.
And welcome to CoreTV Primetime News.
To follow us on Twitter, click on Twitter icon on our website. On Facebook, click on the Facebook and YouTube to see all our previous news production. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Click CoreTV, leave a space, then News. CoreTV News, our 24-hour news station.
Welcome back. It's CoreTV Primetime News. United States Ambassador to Nigeria, James Entwistle, says the country is the largest recipient of the U.S. President's emergency plan for AIDS relief in the world. Entwistle made this known at a reception to celebrate the 238th anniversary of U.S. independence in Abuja on Friday night. According to him, Nigeria is receiving $458 million support each year to help prevent diseases such as malaria. It said a large portion of the money was also used to treat and help prevent diseases such as tuberculosis and HIV and AIDS. The ambassador used the occasion to highlight U.S. priorities and commitments to peace, security and rapid development in Nigeria. On development, he said the strong presence of the U.S. urgency for international development in Nigeria had yielded positive results, particularly in the area of infrastructure and agriculture. He also reiterated the U.S. deep commitment to free, fair and credible elections in Nigeria ahead of the 2015 general elections. Poor funding of the health and the inability of the federal government to harmonize various divisions in the sector have been pointed out as the basis for the strike embarked upon by the Nigeria Medical Association. Chief Medical Director of the Federal Medical Center, Ido-Ekiti, in Ekiti State, Lawrence Ayodele, says resident doctors are not happy with the way they are being treated by the federal government. This, he added, informed the refusal of entreaties even by journalists on the development.
But believe me, there are some things that are fundamentally wrong. If you have the privilege of, knowing what is going on in other parts of the world, so why can't you borrow some of their policies, so that there can be sanity, in the health sector. Now we're talking about NMA today. Tomorrow is going to be Joesu, and next tomorrow is going to be another one. So when are we going to get out of this? I think government will have to, go back to the drawing board and see what can be done, to harmonize, the health sector and even some other non-health sectors.
Bring in more. While expressing sadness over the strike, Ayodele called on the federal government to design a harmonization process which will bring all direct actors in the health sector together.
Doctors are not happy with some of the things that are going on in the country. You mentioned them, you said they are resident doctors, they are training, and they are not permanent staff. They have probably 6 years maximum to spend in the system here, except if they are going to be lucky, to be absorbed as permanent doctors. Having that at the back of their mind, that they are temporary staff, they want all their benefits, given to them. And that's where things are going wrong. They are resident doctors, they want funding of all the programs that they are doing.
The rise in violence against women in Ekiti State, particularly rape and domestic abuse, has called for worrying concern. Against this backdrop, a sensitization program for women to speak up against violence and approach constituted authorities was put together by a group of women lawyers in the state. Our Ekiti State correspondent Rashid has more in this report.
According to the statistics of the International Federation of Women Lawyers, Ekiti State Chapter, the index of rape and violence against women in 2013 is higher than armed robbery and murder put together. Even after the election of June 21, the ugly trend has continued to rear its head. Hence, the sensitization for women to know their rights under the law.
Ever since the elections, we've had women come to us to say that some men have started, they have resumed beating their women again and saying that Governor Fayemi is going, that now they can do whatever they like. I want to use this opportunity to speak to our men in Ekiti State that governance is a continuum. I want to especially appeal to them that if there's anything that Governor Fayemi has done, is to make sure that everything he did was done within the legal framework.
As a woman who has seen it all, the former president of National Council for Women's Societies, Nike Obatayo, admonished women to approach the court in the face of any violence. She added that the court is meant to settle matter and not to aggravate it.
The last resort is the court. Because
the guest speaker, Sheyi Ojo, condemned the alarming rate of rape and violence against women and charged them to take their destinies in their hands.
The number of rape cases we had in Ekiti State surpassed that of armed robbery and murder put together. And this is a very alarming number. Women are being offended against day in, day out in our society. And it is high time we should all come out to speak against this. It is high time we should fight it. We should say no. women should not be predated upon.
Meanwhile, the Female Lawyers Association has commenced a free legal service for indigent women seeking justice against abuse. The pro bono, which is to run for the next 9 months, will help those in need mitigate the cost of legal process. Rashid, CoreTV News, Ado Ekiti.
It's CoreTV Primetime News. We'll take another break. When we return, we'll bring you business, sports, and stories outside Nigeria. Don't go away.
This one wash challenge will test Ariel to see if it removes stains in one wash. Let the challenge begin. First, chocolate and juice. We will wash shirts with Ariel. Look, Ariel has cleaned in just one wash. So which detergent removes stains in one wash? Ariel, P&G Everyday Quality Brand.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ghana. Please remain seated and ensure your seatbelts are fastened. You can now turn on your MTN mobile phone data to enjoy a browsing rate of 5 kobo per kilobyte with MTN One World. Thank you.
Absolutely. Browse like home with MTN One World. Surfing the web from any MTN operating country costs the same like home. Enjoy affordable rates when you call and send text messages. Terms and conditions apply.
MTN, everywhere you go.
CoreTV News now provide a platform for live coverage of political rallies and electioneering campaign from anywhere in Nigeria. Political news stories, political editorial reviews, political discussions, personality profile, People's Parliament from the National, State and Local Government Assembly. Contact us now on 0803-471-8550 or 0803-724-9733. 01453-3407.
Our 24-hour news station.
Nigerians continue to the city of Lagos once again.
Be the first to know. From the north, south, east, west, and around Africa, we break the news.
One Nigeria.
Now you can catch all the actions live as the news breaks. We are CoreTV News.
Welcome to CoreTV.
Our 24-hour news station.
Welcome back. It's CoreTV Primetime News. Now business. Nigeria's downstream regulator, Petroleum Product Pricing Regulatory Authority, PPPRA, has reduced the number of companies licensed to import petroleum products into the third quarter from 40 to 27 companies. 27 companies will import petroleum products between July and September, after which they can reapply. The companies are expected to import around 1.7 million tons for the third quarter. Nigeria imports gasoline through two state-owned authorities, PPPRA, and Pipelines and Product Marketing Company, PPMC. Nigeria is chronically short of oil products, particularly gasoline, due to a long period of underinvestment in its domestic refineries. Oando, Total, Corn Oil, Falario Oil and Gas, Forte Oil, Techno Oil, NIPCO, and Masters Energy all made the cut. The president of African Region Standards Organization, Joseph Odumodu, has called for the establishment of African Continental Free Trade Area by 2017. He made this known during the African Day of Standardization celebration in Kigali, Rwanda. The African Standardization Day is meant to raise awareness among African regulators, industry players, consumers, and other stakeholders on the benefit of standardization, measurement, conformity, assessment, and accreditation as a strategic assets in the African economic integration to the growth of the continent. Odumodu says there was the need to encourage small and medium-sized enterprises to participate in standardization programs. By doing so, he explained that they would be able to make their products competitive in the global export market. Zimbabwe government has increased toll gate fees by 100%, bringing more hardship upon its people. Transport Minister Obed Mopfu announced an increase in the statutory instrument which the government gazette made amendments to the Toll Roads Regional Truck Road Network Amendment Regulations of 2010. The cash-strapped government, faced with a rising expenditure bill as shrinking economy hits tax revenues, has been forced to take the action. The toll gates were internally touted as a way of raising money to rehabilitate the country's badly damaged road network. With the economy not performing and foreign donors and refiners and financiers not overly keen to help, motorists say the government is at a loss for means of generating revenue and was taking the easier option of milking them through road fees. The development would now see private motorists paying $2 from $1 at every toll gate, with haulage trucks paying $10 from $5. Minibuses will now pay $3 from $2, while buses will now pay $4 from $3. Heavy vehicles will now pay $5 from $4. And now sports. Inter finds the World Football Governing Body, FIFA, has handed Nigeria a deadline until next Tuesday to reinstate the Football Federation headed by Aminu Maigari or face suspension from the sports internationally. FIFA, in a letter dated July 4 and signed by its Secretary General, Jeremy Volk, states that it understands that the NFA has been served with court processes and that consequently an order restraining the president of the NFA, NFF, his executive committee members and the NFF Congress from running the affairs of Nigerian football has been granted by a high court of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The International Football Body also noted that the Nigerian Minister of Sports, Tamuno Dangogo, has appointed an assistant director, Lawrence Cutting, to take charge of the NFF. FIFA also clearly stated in its letter that the happenings in Nigeria are preventing the NFF from managing its affairs independently without external influences as under Article 13 of its status. The NFF board was ordered to step aside by a high court in Jos, Plateau State, following an interlocutory injunction filed by the owner of Nembe City, Ebiakbo Rumsum. Argentina reached the World Cup semi-finals for the first time since 1990 as Gonzalo, an early strike, saw off a luck Belgium side. He pounced on Angel Di Maria, deflected pass to Shrivel and fired into the bottom corner from 15 yards. The Napoli striker clipped the crossbar with a rising shot shortly after the break before headed over Belgium's best chance. Argentina will now play Netherlands or Costa Rica for a place in the final. Brazil's striker Neymar was ruled out of the remainder of the World Cup on Friday, dealing the host a crushing blow just hours after the battle through to a semi-final showdown with Germany. A pulsating opening day of quarter-final action saw Brazil advance to the last four with a 2-1 victory over Colombia after Germany defeated old rivals France 1-0 at the Maracana Stadium. But Brazil's bruising win over Colombia was immediately overshadowed by news that Neymar would miss the rest of the tournament after suffering a fractured vertebra. The 22-year-old was carried off in agony after an aerial collision with Colombia defender Juan Camilo towards the end of the contest. Neymar got a knee in the back. The Barcelona superstar has been integral to Brazil's World Cup campaign so far, scoring 4 goals during the World Cup host journey to the last 4. His injury is bound to focus attention on the performance of Spanish referee Carlos Velasco, who allowed several rocked challenges from both sides go unpunished throughout Friday's game. Brazil coach Luis Felipe scholarly fumed that Neymar had been targeted by opponents during the tournament. Petra Vitova swept past Canada's Eugene Bouchard with a stunning performance and controlled par to win her second Wimbledon title. The Z6 seed reclaimed the title she first won in 2011 with a 6-3, 6-0 victory in 55 minutes. It is the 24-year-old's second major title and will see her move up to 4th in the world rankings. Bouchard 20 had made history by becoming the first Canadian to reach a Grand Slam final. And now to foreign stories. Police and witnesses say several people were killed when a powerful suicide car bomb exploded near Somalia's parliament in the capital city of Mogadishu. Al-Qaeda-linked Shabab rebels have, however, claimed responsibility for the bombing, which is the latest in a surge of attacks during Islam's holy month of Ramadan.
A car loaded with explosives was intercepted near the parliament and went off. There were casualties, according to the police official Muhammad Ilu, who confirmed the suicide bomber was in the car. Witnesses at the scene also claimed 3 police officers and the suicide bomber died in the blast. They added that they saw the dead bodies of the 3 police and the severed body parts of what looked like the suicide bomber under the wreckage of the detonated car. The police later sealed off the area and ordered the civilians to leave. Several other witnesses say they saw ambulances taking away the wounded, most of them civilians collected from the scene of the explosion. They stated that around 9 wounded persons were carried out of the attack scene. The Shabab, who carried out frequent attacks against the parliament and all the centers of the Somalia prior to international-backed government, says its members were responsible and vowed more attacks will follow. Militants from the Shabab had last month sent off a car bomb at the gates of the parliament and they stormed the building, while the members of the parliament were meeting in an attack that left several dead. At the time, a Shabab spokesman described the parliament as a military zone and a legitimate target. The group also claimed responsibility for recently shooting a dead lawmaker and his bodyguard. The hardline Shabab insurgent once controlled by most of the southern and central Somalia, including large parts of the capital, but were driven out of the fixed positions in Mogadishu and Somalia's major towns by 22,000-strong African Union force.
And now to Afghanistan, where Taliban militants have set fire to dozens of fuel trucks, which they claimed were supplying foreign troops in Afghanistan in an attack on the outskirts of Kabul. The fire, triggered by a bomb, set ablaze tankers waiting to enter the city in a parking lot west of the Afghan capital overnight. However, no casualties were reported as firefighters tried to control the fire. Here are the details of the attack.
Gal Agan Kashimi is the crime investigation director of Kabul police. He says it was a magnetic bomb that caused the fuel tankers, which added belonged to private companies, to catch fire. It was not clear whether the trucks were supplying fuel to a NATO-led international security assistance forces, whose spokesman says they are looking into the incident to determine if any of the fuel destroyed in Kok-e-Agandi was intended for use by the ISAF forces. The Taliban militants, who have been regularly attacking Western supplying convoys in Afghanistan, claim the responsibility. They have stepped up the attacks recently as the NATO forces complete the withdrawal by the end of this year. The insurgents had recently fired rockets into Kabul airports, destroying the Afghan president's parked helicopters and damaging 3 other choppers. The Afghan capital has been relatively peaceful since the presidential election on the 14th of June, though there have been street demonstrations as politicians are locked in a dispute over the vote fraud. All NATO combat troops will leave Afghanistan by December, with about 10,000 U.S. troops staying into next year if the new president signs a security deal with Washington.
Resurgent government forces hoisted the Ukrainian flag over pro-Russian rebels' main stronghold after a devastating shelling assault that leveled much of the city but delivered Kiev into biggest success of the campaign. The self-proclaimed mayor of Slaviansk confirmed that insurgents had abandoned the Rust Belt city of
is the crime investigation director of
120,000.
Kabul.
Local residents say barricades once manned by the camouflage-clad gunmen stood abandoned. Ukraine's ability to win back Slaviansk, home to one of the country's biggest weapon storage facilities that fell to the insurgents last April, marks a key turning point in 3 months of low-scale warfare that has threatened the very survival of the ex-Soviet state. Both Stropkov and Moscow deny any GRU link despite Western claims that the Kremlin is covertly funding and arming the uprising to destabilize Kiev's new pro-European leaders and retain control over Russian-speaking eastern region of Ukraine. We do apologize, we cannot bring you clips of that report. And that ends our show for tonight. On behalf of the entire news crew, I am Geft Ogete, wishing you a pleasant good night rest. Good night.
They don't have enough power to control the city. That's why they made the decision